Hi, this is Rick, Vintage Oddball Cards. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Well, I'm excited to show you a new addition to my collection. It was a Heritage auction win. I'm really surprised I won this particular card. It actually sold for the final cost was actually $2,000 cheaper than what this card sold for a couple years ago, which is really surprising for a Babe Ruth, scarce Babe Ruth card. And what it is, on the label here, it says 1927, but that's not correct. And that's a whole different issue with these grading companies. A lot of times they mislabel these cards. And this one is mislabeled. So it says here 1927 York Caramel card, but this card was actually issued in 1928. There was two types of cards, York cards. The type 1 was issued in 27. This type 2 was issued in 28. And how you can tell the difference is the picture here. The type 2 is a little more glossier than the type 1. And also on the back, the type 2 is the advertisement with Ruth here is facing this direction. On the type 1, it's facing the other way around. And that's how you can tell between a type 1 and type 2. But again, not sure why, it's not marked. A lot of them you'll see, it'll say, 27, 28, it'll tell you the, type 1 or type 2, but this particular newer label doesn't tell you that. And that might be one of the reasons why I got this particular card cheaper than what I thought it would go for, because Heritage didn't do a very good job of explaining to you that this was a type 2 card. And type 2, the scarcity, it's 2 to 3 times scarcer than the type 1 cards. Pop report on this particular card is total for all grading companies under 20. I think SGC has graded like 5 or 6 of these cards. So it's definitely scarce, but just really, really happy to pick this particular card up. Now, the York Company was based in Pennsylvania. The same year, 1928, there was other companies, ice cream companies, issuing cards. And one of the companies was the Harrington company, ice cream company. And I have the Ruth in that the same picture here, him being, in his Red Sox uniform. He's pitching here, which is really cool. So the Harringtons, all these companies I'm going to mention are all within 60 miles apart. Okay, so the Harringtons, this is the Ruth Harrington here. And as you can see, it was issued in 1928. It's not as clear. The picture here is not as clear, which is very common with Harrington cards. And so whether it's a 1 like this one, or it could be a 3 or 4, a lot of times the picture is going to be the same. A little grainy, not as clear as the York cards. So the Harringtons was an ice cream company. Now the difference between, as you can see, this is very similar to the York. The difference being, you can see in the box here, there's a box with his name on it. It includes a box, where this one doesn't. It's the same checklist, card number 6. So these are all very similar. And again, most likely, the manufacturer was probably the same. Because again, these are all in the same general area, these companies. So this is the Harrington. And on the back here, you're going to see the label here on the back here, which is, different than the York. Now, another company in that area was the Thorp Ice Cream Company. And their checklist is exactly the same as the York checklist, the same cards. I do not have the Ruth. I know Dave Blue Jacket 66 has a Ruth. The Ruth in the Thorp is very, very scarce. I read somewhere that the Wilbur Thorp decided to short print, he called it a chaser card, in which you would be able to receive a gallon of ice cream, which is a big deal back in 1928, if you turned in the complete set of 60 cards. So he called it a chaser card, and it was very difficult. It's a low pop card to make it difficult for people to get the gallon of ice cream. So I don't have that particular card, but I have another card in the set, and it's another great player. It's Grover Alexander here. Again, 1928, and you can see same size. It's going to be the same checklist, picture and so forth, with the same backing. So this is the Thorp's. Another issue is the Yinglings, and it's another ice cream company. I do not have a card, a Yinglings card, but it'd be very similar to these ones I just showed you. I do have a card. They say it's a strip card. It's a W502. I don't have the Ruth, but I do have the Gehrig, and you're going to see very similar again here. The difference between this card and the ones I just showed you is it's a blank back. It says here on the label, it says hand cut. That's not the case. All these, I've never seen one that looks like it's hand cut. These are machine cut. Again, probably the same manufacturer, because all these companies were within a 60-mile radius of each other. So most likely, whoever manufactured these cards, which we don't know, probably was the same company. Most likely, you would have a dealer or a salesperson going to these companies to promote these baseball cards and getting them to, sign up for, hey, why don't you promote one of your products using our baseball cards? The Thorp, what they were promoting was their Eskimo pie bars. Now these W502s, we don't know how they were actually distributed. There's some of them on the back here will say 1-bagger, 2-bagger, 3-bagger. Turn in the card, you'll receive a sponge ball. Most likely they weren't bigger companies. These were like shops, grocery stores, and so forth that were giving these cards out. Okay, and this one just happens to be blank back. So just to kind of review, the York, which I have, the Harringtons. I do not have the Thorp Ruth, very scarce, very rare. I do have the Alexander, which is tough anyway. And the W502, which we don't know too much about. I have the Lou Gehrig. Again, all these companies were just right there. So I'm sure the same manufacturer, salesperson, going to these companies, trying to get them to purchase these cards. The company would put the advertisement on the back to promote, either an ice cream or a caramel card. So hopefully I love doing the research on these things. There's a lot of stuff we just don't know. It's unfortunate that the things we do know, like the year, SGC, PSA, they're just not very consistent. If there's new information, they're just going to stick with the old labels, what it says. I guess maybe not to confuse people. The hand cut here, these are manufactured. I mean, these are machine cut. They just stick with this hand cut because it's a strip card. So anyway, it just kind of frustrated my little rant there. Hey, thanks for watching. This is Rick, Vintage Oddball Cards. Bye.